driving, I'll do like a stint basically. So whether even if it's a slow stint, I'm all over the place. What I found for me is just like doing a bunch of laps in a row consecutively. Like when I first started driving, I learned so much initially and get so used to the track way quicker. Just trying to take in everything. And then after that, I'll do a bit of hot lapping with like a race setup, and start on a race setup for sure.
Do you guys share race setups a lot?
Yes. Like within our team, racing.
Right, because to me, I like only do fixed setups.
Yeah.
If I start to tinker around, it's going worse, usually. So I don't have the time to just work on the setup. I don't have the knowledge either.
Yep. I think the big thing is like making it feel comfortable. There's a lot of people in like kind of the sim racing side that focus too much on like lap time wise when they're setting up the car. They don't focus on actually making it feel good for you.
That's one thing I have definitely noticed. Like, I'm falling into the trap of okay, this setup's faster, I'm a couple tenths faster.
Yep.
But then I realize if I do that setup in the race, I'm wrecking out of it. If I get a setup that I'm confident with, then throughout the race, my confidence comes in, and that gains the extra tenths that I and usually do a lot better in the race. And I'm not afraid to throw it in there because I'll catch it. But
it's also interesting that depending on the temperature settings, there's a lot of lap time. Like when we run, let's say Laguna Seca in a GP3 car, and you drop the temperature, all of a sudden you're a second and a half faster. With the same setup, everything is
because you guys probably run into that a lot,
And that's the tough part because of the dynamic weather and stuff. And especially it makes it tough in like qualifying because you join in the session, it's like random weather, and you have 3 laps to put like your best that you can do. And it's like so tough in that series because everyone's so good at it. Basically, you have to test. You can't test every condition, but you kind of test the extremes of the cold, the middle, and the hot. That's how kind of I do it at least. But generally, if you can
change the setup accordingly, or you just try to run the same setup.
It depends. If you can really make a good balanced car that's actually a good setup, it can run well in all conditions. Maybe change tire pressures a little bit to make sure your hot pressures are right. But other than that, you should be able to be good in every condition. The only thing you have to figure out is your fuel and in the F1 car's case, their ERS consumption. How you adjust your, toggling accordingly. So it's a lot involved.
But then it's just a lot of grinding laps, just trying to.
Yeah, it's.
Those laps.
You can definitely. There's some people who will just like grind laps, and there's other people who will kind of do a few laps and then analyze it with data and try to take in. There's definitely both kinds. I think I can go typically either way. I prefer the laps more, but I do the data in addition to. So if I can do grinding laps, then I'll do it.
When you do your setups, is it more setups to just how it feels, or are you looking at telemetry and trying to technically get the fastest car, or is it all feel?
Yeah, so it is big in telemetry as well, like figuring out some ride heights and all the little damper things and stuff like that. But it is, you do look at lap time a bit to see what is faster, but you also have to make sure the car feels good. So if you have a car that turns super well in the beginning of the stint, you have to make sure by lap 15 the car's not going to try to kill you and spin out every corner. So
has that been a help for you in your real world? Because I know I've learned a lot in racing from sim racing, and I reckon you can talk a lot better to your engineers.
Absolutely.
Like you can talk to them because you've actually kind of done it. You don't really have the schooling for it per se, but you've done it, the backyard way, and you can probably talk to them a lot more.
It's a huge help. Like all the same theories apply with kind of making adjustments, and when you want the car to do something, you can change this and it'll work the same way. So that's super helpful. Being able to kind of think about that every time you drive and focus on that, making changes and stuff like that helps. Like when you get in the actual car, it's like, oh yeah, the car's doing this, we need to change this. It really helps. So
maybe my kids
kind of
will be
setup
there.
you're on?
Not me, I'm too old.
So it's a heavily modded Oboto ozone rig.
Triple screens, I assume?
Yep. So custom monitor mount to get the three 27-inch screens close to the wheel.
And what wheel? Like
a Bogner.
bought now.
Yeah. But the V1, so before the new ones came out.
Right. Yeah.
But
Still good.
yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
And then pedals.
Using Build Pro pedals, and hopefully
okay, yeah.
can upgrade to the Ultimate soon, and then just some, sequential shifter and handbrake and whatnot. But
Yeah, maybe CXC will sponsor you or something. Give you guys a rig.
Or you can come in anytime.
yeah, absolutely.
Open house.
Perfect.
But how do you like the motion actually?
Yeah, it's good.
I think you haven't even run our system with the motion how it's intended, because Project Cast motion is not that great, to be honest.
Yeah.
We don't like it ourselves.
Yep.
And then I think you should try to calibrate to your own feeling.
Yep.
Because also for the oval, we do one generic motion profile, right? So it fits for
Yep.
every scenario, right? I mean, you have a difference between a Formula car and a GT car,
Yep.
yes, but on the oval you're leaning too much
Yeah.
out,
Yep.
and you could adjust that. If
Yep.
you know you're running just an oval, you can adjust the motion profile accordingly.
Yep.
I'm curious what you think if you run anything else on our sim, like the F1 car, how you like that motion input.
Yep. I think the big thing for me is like when I'm in the real car, like there's so much other things going on. I don't really think about like the actual movement. At least for me, like I don't even really notice it. So for me, like kind of being, in a room or something or on a sim, you have more time to think and notice things. Be a bit more picky with things. So you definitely notice it a lot more. But it all comes down to like there's a lot more going on in the real car where you don't really have time to think about that. So it's a tough way to say for sure like what you actually feel.
Right.
They turned it down quite a bit for you.
Yeah.
Today, when we first got there, it seemed like it was pretty low.
Yeah.
What are some of the different settings you guys have for motion? Is it like?
Well, so the thing is, we only do two ways, like lateral and then longitudinal, right? And so, for example, if you have heave, how do you translate that? So usually we stop, push a little forward, and then drop again, right?
Yeah.
We don't do heave like this way, because right now we cannot do it. So then also the problem is G-forces, like if you go into a turn, right, it pushes you to the outside. So the way to simulate is to lean you out a little bit to get that push, right? The problem is, technically it's a roll of the car. So how do you distinguish between the roll of the car and the G-force, which is lateral? So we're trying to be right in the middle so it makes sense to your brain.
Yep.
But on an oval, it's always tricky. Because in an oval, technically, you're moving to the left just from a gravity point of view, but on the other hand, the G-force is pushing you out, but it actually pushes you into the seat down.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that's where you have to just fine-tune it to make it right.
Yep.
Yeah, I'd have to get like a solid. I had to do like an entire season or something on a sim rig to really, because right now it's so far different than a stationary seat. You know what I mean? Where it's
Well,
like.
the problem with the stationary seat is only visual. Based.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe a little bit through the wheel, but everything else is only eyes.
Yep.
Right. Now, when you have the motion seat and everything, if it's calibrated right, you feel a lot more. So it's more natural, like in the real car. If the car comes around, you know right away. It's instinct, right? That's what we're trying to achieve with the seat. It's instinct for you. Oh, it's going away. I can catch it. Right?
Yep.
With the non-motion sim, it's always the eyes. You have to see it move away to start catching. Right? So,
It's fun to try Nürburgring.
Oh yeah.
how far are you guys away, by the way? 10 o'clock? With good traffic, right? Well, anytime you're up here in the area, stop by.
Yeah.
Seriously, sit down and hear some more focused. I'm curious.